Well, we're starting a new series now, and it is the month of December, so not a big surprise that the series is focused on Jesus and his birth, which we'll be celebrating at Christmas. Now, as we get ourselves ready and prepare our minds and our heart for that, the series is entitled Sent Ones, and that's because we're going to be looking at people that God sent to be a part of this process of preparing us for Jesus. And so we're starting all the way back with prophets and prophecies that existed for thousands of years. In the case of Abraham, 2,000 years before the birth of Jesus. And so what I've done is I've broken them up kind of chronologically. I'm giving you some prophecies to take a look at here. The ones under Moses, I attributed to Moses because he's attributed with writing down the first five books of the Bible, even though the book of Genesis, those accounts were passed down for generation after generation verbally. And so you have Abraham, who was 2,000 years before Jesus, Jacob, who was not long after that. So Abraham, Isaac, and then Jacob. So it's his grandson. And then you've got Judah, who is one of the 12 tribes of Israel. And so we're kind of halfway between Abraham and the days of Moses. And so maybe about 100 years after Abraham. So as you take a look at these, what I want you to do is just take a look at the prophecies that are made there about one who is going to come. And the first two, with Abraham and Jacob, there is sort of a theme to the prophecies. And then the next two, Judah and David, who's about 1,000 years before Jesus, they are another theme that is going on. So I'd like you to take a look at the first two. What theme is there? What is the prophecy around? And the second two, look at those together. What are those prophecies around? And then my question is kind of putting those two together. How is the details that we have in the second set of prophecies, and how is that going to bless? Hope I gave you the first one. The all nations, as it talks about in the first set of prophecies. So just getting you going here, and I encourage you to read those, even look them up in your own Bibles, and just enjoy reading the scriptures and talking about those prophecies. We've got one other section for you. And so when you're ready to go on to that section, you can press play to continue. Well, I hope that started to get you into the Christmas mode here, preparing for the birth of Jesus. The next three prophecies that I'm going to give you are just that. They are focused on the birth. Now, there's plenty of other prophecies actually that talk about the Messiah, and hopefully by now you're seeing that the Messiah means king, and it's referring to the one who would be a king of Israel that would be seated on the throne of David, so it would be a descendant of David, but really who would rule all nations. And so somehow this person, this Messiah becoming king of all nations, not just Israel, would somehow bless all nations. The next three prophets are starting to get closer to Jesus, still hundreds of years before he was born. And as you take a look at those three prophecies, what you're going to find is that that they are starting to focus specifically in on the birth. And it gives us information to sort of hone in on, and even gave the Israelites enough to hone in on and start to build expectations of the Messiah and who the Messiah would be and how they would be able to identify the Messiah or the Christ when in fact he is born. And so what I'd like for you to do is to take a look at those next three. Like I said, there are many more prophecies. A few more are about the birth, and we're going to get into that next week. But really, most of them are about his life, his teaching, his miracles, his death, his resurrection, things like that. And so, because we're getting ready for celebration of his birth, we're going to focus on the birth prophecies during this series. And so, I'd like for you to take a look at these three, read those, and talk about that. Would that be enough for you to be able to pick out the Messiah, the Christ, when he was born? Would this give you enough information? Is God communicating enough information for you to be able to identify that this Jesus from Nazareth is in fact the Christ? You might even think about some of the accounts of his birth and look those up as a part of this process as well if you want, because clearly these prophecies were important to the people who lived in Jesus' day when they were identifying that he is the Christ, the Son of the living God. After you're done looking that up and just kind of getting yourself ready, I encourage you to enjoy some fellowship with each other as people who celebrate the meaning of Christmas, which is that Jesus, the Christ, is born. Pray for one another. Encourage each other in this season of remembering his birth. And know that I'm praying for you as well. God bless.